Log date November 18th, 2047. Beginning log.
Greetings all. My name is Professor Kaito Sakura, but many just call me the Pokemon Professor. When I studied under Professor Rowan, I had a fascination with a particular subset of Pokemon. Magnemite, Baltoy, Bronzong, Pokemon with no biological reason for being. I studied these strange Pokemon, hoping to discover the secrets of their origins. Alas, for decades my research was fruitless. Until 25 years ago. I discovered an ancient tablet in the mountains between Aster and Unova. A tablet depicting the Pokemon Clink. I followed the tablet's instructions, and soon enough, my lifelong partner was born. A Pokemon made with my own two hands. Today, man-made Pokemon are commonplace, referred to as digital types. Ah yes, the painkillers. Thank you for reminding me. We'd best take our leave. Can't keep my magnum opus waiting.
Konnichiwa Sekai, and welcome back to the Aster region, my fan-made Pokemon region combining the Midwestern United States and the Kansai region of Japan. As our esteemed guest Professor Sakura just explained, we will be taking a look today at a Pokemon type born in the Aster region, the Digital type. The Digital type was codified to explain Pokemon that are intentionally man-made to benefit society, or those creating them, if you catch my drift. Additionally, every Digital type Pokemon has technology integrated into their bodies to help them with their established purpose. Why am I making a new type for this region? Simple. Cyberpunky has a lot of technology to it, and I figured there should be a de facto technology type. So, before I show off some of the new Pokemon to gain the Digital type, let's take a look at some old ones getting it, as well as explaining how this type will function in battle. Let's start off with the obvious. As I just showed, Clank is now a Digital Steel type, as it was the first Digital type to be officially recognized as such. Another obvious one, instead of a normal type, the Porygon line will now be Mono Digital type, and will actually be getting a new evolution, which I'll show off soon enough. An alternate form to Porygon Z, if you would. Speaking of normal types, an interesting choice is Castform, which is also a mono-digital type, because it was man-made, though it does still gain the additional types of whatever form it's currently in. Genesect is also getting the digital type in place of its steel type, since it just kind of makes more sense with all the technology integrated into this bug's body. And finally, Type Null and Silvally will now be digital normal type. They'll keep their digital type regardless of whether their form changes, mostly because they're always going to be man-made, even if they're not always normal. Of course, those last three will probably be restricted to the post-game. Now then, let's show how the digital type battles. For offensive, the digital type is strong against Fairy, Psychic, and Fighting. Fairy and Psychic are seen as magic types, and technology is either magic's Achilles heel or the other way around in most media. And punching a computer isn't really going to stop it from doing its job, if you catch my drift. Additionally, digital type Pokemon are super effective against each other. To reference hackers and junk, you know, the only way to stop a computer is with a computer. For types that digital is weak against, I came up with Water, Grass, and Dark. Water and Grass because they're forces of nature that you can't really directly do anything against with tech. You need specialized stuff to deal with them. And Dark because you can't really deal with evil with technology. Evil will always exist. Changing gears to defenses, Digital also resists Dark because tech is ambivalent to good and evil, and it also resists fairy and psychic for reasons stated earlier. Fighting, however, does neutral damage because you can still damage a computer by punching it. Finally, digital is weak to itself, water, and electricity. I already stated why it's weak to itself, but for water, it's because you can fry electronics with it. And same goes for electricity, you can overload its systems. Let me know if there's any changes I should make to the digital type to make it more balanced in the comments. But for now, let's get into the new Pokemon. This is the digital fairy type Porygon 3.0, the new Porygon form I mentioned. It is like the Pokemon equivalent of a browser. As such, it's fairy type because it represents all the fun things you can do with the internet. It loves having fun with its trainers. Its design is pretty simple, basically an uncorrupted version of Porygon Z, and I brought in those little balls from the Porygon beta design. Porygon 3.0, the browser Pokemon, a digital fairy type. An uncorrupted version of Porygon Z, this Pokemon is often used as a living search engine. It's much happier than its other forms. And here we have one of the first regional variants and digital types that I came up with. This is Asterian Marie. Asterian Marie were engineered to produce steel wool, although that caused the side effect that they're much meaner than their Jotonian counterparts for reasons unknown. This Pokemon is based on both the Dolly Sheep experiment, because for some reason Galar didn't do one, and the book Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep? Mostly just the title. I kinda found it ironic since it's no longer an electric type. The entire line has an ability called Steel Wool, where when they take a physical attack from another Pokemon, that Pokemon will face recoil damage, because of all those barbed spikes their wool have.
Mareep, Asterian form, a digital steel type. The genetically altered Mareep have much more durable wool, though they are notably more hostile towards handlers. Further study is required.
Asterian Mareep evolves into Asterian Flappy. I'll admit there's not much special about this one, but I do like that it kind of turns those little bits of wool on the head into noticeable horns, which is ironic since it already had horns. I also inverted the color scheme from the original Flappy, since it has an inverted personality. I thought it was clever. Flappy, Asterian form, a digital steel type. Similar to Mareep, Flappy are much more prone to attacking than their Jotonian counterpart. Caution is suggested to handlers. And for the final form of the night, we have Asterian Ampharos. Unlike its Jotonian counterpart, this Pokemon is more defense-oriented. Since it keeps its wool, and by extension its spikes, if you were to attack it, it would have a reasonable defense against that. Just like the rest of the line, it's much meaner than its Jotonian counterpart, and this time it's accented by the fact that its horns are sharper, to be used as weapons. Ampharos, Asterian form, a digital steel type. Unlike its counterpart, this Ampharos keeps its wool, using it as a coat of armor.
Finally, we have the electric digital type Pika clone of the Aster region, Electromole. My idea with this one is kinda unique. Basically, it was genetically engineered from the DNA of Pikachu, Drillbur, those kind of Pokemon. And its job is to transfer electricity and data from place to place. So it's basically a little hacker mole. However, because it can transfer data, it's sometimes used by hackers to steal data from other people. They're little mischievous guys, so they don't really care who they're working for. For the color scheme, I kinda got unique with the whole cyberpunky thing, for a mostly black with neon blue and yellow. You don't see a lot of neons in Pokemon designs. And I gave it squinty little eyes because as it can't see there very well. It's also based on a computer mouse, so I gave it that little scrolling thing as a mohawk.
Electromole, the mole Pokemon, an electric digital type. Electromole were engineered to transport data and electricity, though they don't always bring it to the proper destination.
With high enough friendship, Electromole will evolve into Morurai. That's Moru, which is Japanese for mole, and Mirai, Japanese for future. It's kind of unique for Pika clones to get evolutions, since the only Pika clone to actually evolve is regular Pikachu. Morurai is supposed to be the big, friendly guy. You know, a big body, big heart, that kind of thing. I also gave him little goggles, since I like that little trope of moles having goggles to see better, and being little engineers, which is what this Pokemon does. He helps engineers with electricity and data. I'd like to think that these guys have an ability that makes them functionally ground types, to reference that they are part Drillbur after all. And I turned the yellow to a more copperish color, you know, to make it look more electrical. I overall really like how it turned out.
Morurai, the mole Pokemon, an electric digital type. Engineered from Pikachu and Drillbur, Morurai are hard workers who go out of their way to lend a hand. And there you have it, the digital type. What do you think of it? Should I make any changes? What do you think of the Pokemon I've designed for it? Regardless, make sure to like and subscribe so I can get more videos out here. The next one will either be more digital type Pokemon I couldn't fit in this one, or our Halloween special. We'll see how things turn out. Until then, Ink out.